Backstage again at the 2015 Iowa City Jazz Festival. Our good buddy Ben Allison is on hand, who's going to be on the main stage here in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Iowa.
Thanks, Bob.
Well, you were here, I think, like in December, weren't you? Doing some work at the university.
I know, a few months ago.
You just can't stay away, can you?
Well,
remember the last time you were on the main stage when you played?
Yeah, I was looking at my calendar. It was 2007, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
so
knew it had been a while.
A few years
Way
back.
too long. Dang it.
Know.
Let's catch up on a few things you've done. First of all, you've been playing a little bit with Steve Bernstein's Millennial Territory Orchestra. Are you still doing that?
You know, not much recently, actually. That band had been in existence for, over 10 years, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
We did a bunch of projects, a lot of things. And then in the last few, he teamed up with Henry Butler, a great
from New Orleans.
Pianist. And so that kind of splintered off into something else, and I'm not involved in that project because that's kind of like Henry's thing mixed with Stevens'
Yeah, that was a
thing.
neat CD.
Yeah, so I'm not involved in that.
Well, that Millennial Territory Orchestra is a fun-sounding band.
It is,
yeah. Talk a little bit about this. You've had an ongoing thing with the 80-piece orchestra down in Sao Paulo, Brazil. I think you started in 2005, and I think you've done a few things since then. What wasn't that? You were like the composer and arranger. That's got to be a little daunting for that size of a ensemble.
It is. It's a great organization. It's called the Jazz Sinfonica. So it's kind of Brazil's Boston Pops in a way, in the sense that it's an 80-piece orchestra. So they have a full symphony orchestra and they also have a kind of a jazz big band. Everybody on stage. They have this incredible venue, Teatro Ibirapuera. It's like right in kind of one of their main parks. This beautiful venue, and they put on concerts and they invite guest artists down. And I've been fortunate enough to do it 3 times. They seem to
like
I guess
it.
they dig my music. I don't know. It's lucky, and there's some great composers and arrangers who are part of their staff, so we collaborate. I mean, for me to,
I was going to say that'd be pretty daunting for.
It is daunting,
but it's all your music.
It's my music, and so we kind of go back and forth. Like I'll send them some ideas, they'll send me some ideas, and but when it comes down to like printing parts and all the stuff, they take care of that.
Yeah,
luckily.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Talk about your teaching artist collaboration you've done for Carnegie Hall. I know you did that back in 2009.
Yeah.
Working with children in Harlem. Is that an ongoing project or?
That was something I was involved with for about a year. Carnegie Hall, they have a great, it's obviously an awesome institution, and they have this educational wing called the Wild Music Center. So it was just a chance to work with them and develop some stuff. I've been involved in education for many years. I'm currently on faculty at the New School.
Oh, okay.
Actually just developing a new program, which I'm excited about, which will launch this fall. So it was just a chance to do some stuff with them, and I've done, I did my, what you call Carnegie Hall debut.
I was going to say, it's pretty impressive.
Back in 2012, so that was a great connection, and I felt honored to be part of that.
Talk about, you brought up the program you're doing for the New School. What's the new program you've got going?
Well, it's actually, I've been teaching there on and off for actually 2 decades, as tour schedules will allow.
Sure, absolutely.
The latest venture is, for a long time I've had this feeling that, and many students after the semester ends will come up and say, so, what do I do now?
Right.
And it's a good question, and
yeah.
so we are starting to develop at the New School something that's a little bit more kind of career oriented, and without getting too much into depth, it's an entrepreneurial class. It's called Entrepreneurship in Music. So
well, it sounds like an important thing because, like you say, they don't. You get out of school. What are you going to? You're either going to teach or you're going to go out. What are you going to do?
Well, honestly, musicians of today we really are required to do so many more things than just play our instruments, and you can try to skate by just doing that, but honestly you also have to be able to take care of your business. We're artists, but we're in the business of art. It's a kind of a funny thing. It's a tricky thing for musicians because we don't like to think about this stuff a lot, and sometimes to our detriment. Right? So I've been fortunate enough this is a little bit of a segue, but I've been fortunate enough for the last 4 years to be involved in the Recording Academy's work. I'm currently the vice president and the advocacy chair of the Recording Academy. The listeners would know them as the organization behind the Grammys. We do the Grammy Awards. But there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes on, and a lot of it has to do with advocacy. So as advocacy chair, my job is to, in New York, that is to kind of champion all those things that help music and musicians and help the industry really survive and thrive.
As far as getting rights and
Yeah.
you actually didn't you go before Congress and do some
I've testified before Congress.
That's got to be a little daunting, doesn't it?
It gets heavy over here.
I would think so.
Yeah, so us jazz bass players, we do a lot of interesting things in life.
That's funny. Talk about your 2011 release, Action Refraction, which was kind of different for you because you didn't do original music. This is all covers of other people's music, and some interesting choices with like P.J. Harvey, and you did a piece of Samuel Barber's. And how do you go about choosing things like that? Just for this, I mean, you've only got 9 or 10 pieces to pick. How do you go about choosing that music?
Well, yeah, that was my last album. I was on a great independent label called Palmetto Records for quite a few years, and that was my last album for them. I mean, my contract was up. I had one more option, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do my covers album now, because until that point, as you know, I had done almost exclusively my original music. So, yeah, I mean, I basically just picked tunes that, this is what it is, really. It's when I hear something and I wish I had written it, I covet it, I want it. I feel like, man, that is such a great tune, and I wish I had written it, but also this feeling that I know I can sink my teeth into it and bring it somewhere else. If I had written it, this is what I would have done with it, sort of mentality. I guess anyone who does covers, that's pretty much how they think about it, I think.
And it's interesting, you kind of do that with your own music. You've recorded some of your tunes more than once, and each time you do it, it's totally different. I mean, you've done something with, you did something with the new group that you've done before with, you had to arrange it a little bit different for Jenny Scheinman and such. So it's interesting that you've taken some of your own music and you do some different things with it too.
Yeah, I guess I'm restless that way.
You also, like, I don't know if a lot of people, and more people are forming their own recording companies. Sonic Camera Records, is that what it is?
Yeah.
And of course, the new CD, The Stars Look Very Different Today, is on that one. The first release for that one. And what was the idea behind starting your own record company? More to get your own. Well, was that a result of Palmetto going away and you deciding to step up?
As I said, my options were up with them, and the question was to re-sign or not. And as I mentioned before, musicians, every day we kind of take on more and more of our own, and I it's just a soul-searching moment of thinking about what's best for me at this point. And I've always been pretty much a DIY sort of person. I like the freedom and the challenge of kind of guiding my own career. I've never had a manager, for better or worse. I just do it myself, and I like that. It's the one thing I have is this incredible group of huge international now group of musicians with whom I get to collaborate. It really is an international community, very broad and deep, and so my thought was just to take the music that we always do, and the last step of this process is producing a record. Honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, record labels, it's a tricky thing. What is a record label? How much time we got?
We got plenty of time.
Okay.
Feel free. Go ahead.
All right. So what's a record label? Record labels, I mean, for one thing, they have traditionally, and for the most part, been the financiers of music. So they take the risk. They put the money down. They produce a project. There's all kinds of channels behind the scenes in terms of getting the music out there to a broader audience. But in the jazz world, that model's relatively small. It's pretty much been mostly pretty small. budgets are lean and mean. Productions are efficient for the most part, and then you build the labels build a catalog, but the money is kind of a big part of it. It's risky. It's risky putting down money on something and kind of promoting it and all that stuff. Okay, labels also traditionally had kind of the grip on distribution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the third thing labels do, in my opinion, is they're kind of they have catalogs, groups of artists that hang together. The good labels are kind of like I don't want to say arbiters of taste, but they definitely have a group of artists that seem to work together that help define the label and help define the music.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So let's take those three things. In the first case, in terms of financing, that whole thing is really dissolved. I mean, record labels are under an extraordinary amount of stress these days, and we can go into why that is. But I think most people know it, that the music has been honestly devalued beyond the point of no return. So their budgets have been severely cut, and so the artist budgets have been severely cut. Okay, so there's not the money there once was. So the second thing is distribution. With modern technology, that's really not an issue anymore.
Right.
Honestly, there are a couple of places where people buy music, and the rest of it is on-demand streaming.
Right.
So that's not as relevant as it once was. And then the third thing in terms of taste makers and having artists that kind of collaborate together and creating a sound. So you say, all right, there's Island Records in the 80s. All right, I know what that is. And there's Def Jam. Okay, I know what that is. I have an association.
Mm-hmm.
That's valid. It's more of a marketing thing, though. So when I started to look at those three things and thought, well, the money, that's important. But in terms of the distribution, I know I can do that myself.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the promotion, I work with great promoters, and I can do that myself with help. And then in terms of the taste, I've always been, we started our Jazz Composers Collective, and the New York scene has been very collaborative, and we help each other. So
Sure.
That wasn't as much an issue for me. Everyone kind of knew my music at that point to a certain extent. So that was it. That was the rationale.
So
right?
Do you have any
Why
other?
not? Why not
other,
start your own label?
Other discs in the pipeline that you can, any people you're working with now on the label that?
Yeah, we got a couple of different projects kind of in the works, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little early to talk about them, but
okay.
I think one thing that's going to change is I'm going to get all my masters back in a couple of years of everything I've ever done. So that'll be a whole big kind of re-release of about 11 albums.
Yeah.
And then there are a couple of other projects that I have been involved with over the years that we're piecing together now for release. So it'll become like a real label. It's a real label now, but it'll become a real label.
It's a big thing
soon.
to take on, and it's
is.
cool that you're doing that. I look forward to hearing what comes out of the Sonic Camera. I like the title of the new CD. The stars look very different today. It's because I'm a Bowie fan, and that's obviously a line from Space Oddity, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Where'd that come from?
Well, the record itself, the music is very focused on film music, and I'm very inspired by film music. I always have been. Thematic scores and things that are, I grew up in the kind of golden age of what I think of as the golden age of television theme music, which would have been 60s, 70s, where there were scores written for TV shows. And so the music is very inspired by that. And there was an era that was happening right around that time where a lot of film music was transitioning from 20th century classical scores, like Jerry Goldsmith type stuff, and then incorporating kind of electronics, guitars, and weird synthesizers and kind of other sounds. So that's the music we're referencing, and I think that for some reason that Bowie tune and that title spoke to me, sounded like that.
Sure.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. Absolutely.
That's my own twisted brain working.
And it's interesting. You're for this particular performance, you're going back to your Thinkfree band from back in '09.
Yeah.
when I was looking up there, I didn't realize that Thinkfree is actually some sort of an online service. Is that where you got the title from, or?
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, maybe they got the title they got from you. Yeah, I was looking at like some online service that was called Thinkfree. I'm thinking, well,
Okay.
I thought you got it from them, but
No, I mean
they got it from you
you know,
probably.
I
You're
don't have the
looking at
lawyers to trademark stuff, so I mean,
That's
we'll have to look into that. But
that. I was. Do you still work at all with Ted Nash at all?
I do. As a matter of fact,
Are you part of the presidential suite at all?
I'm not, but
Okay.
Ted and Steve Cardenas and I, under Ted's name, will be at Dizzy's Club in New York this August.
Oh,
And then I'm going to do a week at Birdland, and then we're going to reconvene to make a record, the three of us. We have
Oh,
a project,
great.
just the three of us, no drums,
oh, neat.
where we are delving into the music of Jim Hall and Jimmy Giuffre. So like Jimmy's bands, you know, from that
sure.
era with Jim, and it's very conversational and beautiful, and we're taking some of their music, and then we're also writing our own, inspired by that.
Oh, that's
So
neat.
we're going to do
That
a
sounds
record
neat.
for a new French label, and we're excited about it.
Well, I hope we get a copy of it. Keep
Oh,
us
you
in
will.
mind when you send that out, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I saw this thing that Ted did with Presidential Suite, and he was
Yeah.
doing a Kickstarter, and I threw in
Yeah.
some money because it sounded great.
Nice.
It's all this.
I've played a lot of that music over the years as he was developing it, but
Yeah?
I'm not involved.
I'm
in
looking
that
forward to.
exactly.
I'm looking forward to that. What else you got in the pipeline right now? What are you working on? Any other things that are new, or
Well-
basically just playing out and teaching and?
I am.
you
Well,
were
I've
on
been
a-
invited to Iran.
Oh,
That's going to be something totally
Interesting.
interesting. Yeah.
where'd that come from? A cultural
left
exchange
field,
sort of a
like-
thing? Yeah, way left or
Very
right?
left.
Well, right field maybe. I don't know.
No, it's great. I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do. My wife is very involved in that, in U.S.-Iran relations, as an aside. And so we have a lot of friends and close
Oh.
colleagues over there. And so we, I think of music as a form of cultural diplomacy. I mean, it's really something we all. I mean, man, you can go anywhere as a musician and play music, and then everyone, it's a way to connect.
Mhm.
Especially, I have to say, jazz. Because it's nonverbal. I mean, at least for me, there are no lyrics, and so it's just the sound of it is what it is. And I don't care where you are, but when there's a groove and a melody,
Mhm.
that pretty much is all you need.
Not,
So
not quite as subversive of some countries thought it was back. Germany or Russia thought they said, "Oh, we can't have jazz," but that era is gone.
I think I'm expecting it to be a great success, and they have this beautiful kind of their national opera house, so it's going to be an incredible venue. And there are a lot of things that have to happen before it actually comes
Right,
together.
right.
We should hear any day now, as a matter of fact, about our.
Well, if it happens between now and 6 o'clock, let us know.
Yeah.
We'll get the scoop on that.
Yeah.
Were you on? Was it Jeremy Peltz disc or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I saw you as a sideman. You don't show up as a sideman a whole lot, do you? I thought there's Ben Allison. Wow,
I
this
wish
is
I
great.
did more. I mean, that's one of the problems of being, I guess, a band leader, is that you spend a lot of time doing that. It's a big job. But I love playing other people's music, and Jeremy's a great writer and just a great band leader, and I'm thrilled that he's playing my music tonight. He's actually, I think probably, I have to think back on who called who first. I think I might have called him. He did some touring with me last summer
Mhm.
in Europe and some runs in New York and elsewhere. And he just has, he has his own voice, and it's just a great player. And what he brings to my music is perfect. It's just what I want. It's this combination of melodicism and kind of trumpet fortitude, and he just plays the heck out of the horn. So
Yeah, it was a nice surprise seeing you on there, because that's a really neat recording. I like that recording a lot.
Yeah.
So who talk about today? Who you got with you today?
Well, it's the band. It's Steve
For
Cardenas.
those of us who don't know, for
Okay.
those of you out there who don't
so
know.
Steve, yes, I should.
That's okay.
Steve Cardenas, an awesome guitarist, one
yes.
of my closest friends. We've been collaborating together. He's been in my group for about 10 years. He's from KC,
Mm-hmm.
and
Were you down there with his? Does he still have family down there and such that you were?
yeah.
You got some good home cooked meals and stuff.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We've, there's some great venues in KC, and we
Yeah,
hit a
there are.
couple of those, and
And the barbecue is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you like barbecue.
I don't know.
Okay.
I could do. No, I'm joking. I'm totally joking. I love barbecue. Yeah. In fact, I'm just now emerging from a pork coma.
Oh,
That's why
okay,
I'm
good. A little groggy.
little groggy. And then Rudy Royston, who's kind of, I guess,
He's like the house
like
drummer
house
here.
drummer. Yeah. Yeah. But Rudy's been the era with the Steve and Rudy and a trumpet player was about 3 or 4 years touring with that band, and then I kind of split off the last year and a half for this new album, which was involved another guitarist and another drummer. So this is we've played so many times together, but this is a little bit of a I don't want to say a reunion, but it's just great to play with. Man, Rudy's one of my favorite players on earth, and he knows my music so well. So we're gonna dive back in.
It always helps to have people you played with for a long time because it's instinctive. You don't really have to. Well, you have to think, but it's very natural, I would imagine.
That's right.
So
yeah.
it's just the trio then?
No. So Steve Cardenas, Jeremy Peltz on trumpet,
Okay.
and Rudy Royston on
Okay.
drums.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the full contingent.
Neat. And things from Thinkfree, or what are you going to be playing? What are you
Yeah,
doing?
we're gonna do some stuff from there. We're gonna do really the last probably 4 or 5 albums. We'll do a track or two from the new record. I got a lot of records.
You do.
We'll do
Thankfully.
some stuff from Thinkfree. We'll do some stuff from Cowboy Justice.
Okay.
Which was the first record that I put out with this concept. And as a matter of fact, it was shortly after that album came out that we were playing here. So we're going to play some stuff.
Tricky Dick? Or?
We'll play Tricky Dick.
Right.
That's right. And we haven't played that in a while, so
Okay.
we're going to delve back into that.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Do you ever see Ron Horton much anymore? Do you work with Ron much
The great
anymore?
trumpet player,
Yeah.
Ron Horton. Yeah, not as much.
Okay.
I don't know. We just kind of he
Going
went
on to
into
other
some
things.
Yeah,
Okay. So I was just curious.
Yeah.
So it's good to see
we
Ron every now
the
and
last time I saw him, actually I did see him fairly recently. About a month or two ago, we played at a club in New York where we kind of got back together on some of that Herbie Nichols stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
played, and he sounded amazing. It was so much fun.
That Herbie Nichols project was cool. That's
Very cool.
Ever going to do anything more with that, or I
We're
guess
talking about it.
yeah.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, we we've been as you know long time champions of his music and devotees, also researching it a lot. And we recently uncovered over 30 tunes, 30 more on top of the other ones that we had found that he had never recorded,
Oh,
that
wow.
have yet to be heard, as far as we know. At least, unless you were there in 1961 and heard them, you probably haven't heard them. And some of them are gems. So I hope to record those.
Great. Well, we look forward to it. Hopefully that'll happen. Well, Ben, thanks for taking a few minutes out. I guess we went on quite a long time, but thanks for taking some time out, and good luck with the show today and your future. Looking forward to
pleasure.
hearing more from you in the future. Ben Allison here at the Iowa City Jazz Festival, just minutes away.